Live from WTOC, the Southeast News Leader. The News at 4 starts now.
It's runoff day in Georgia for the primary. Thank you for joining us for the News at 4. I'm Mike Sela. Polls are open across Georgia today for the primary runoff elections, with voters deciding party nominees in several key statewide races. Our Bronte Sorotsky is live in downtown Savannah, where she spoke with voters who headed out to the polls earlier today. Bronte?
Well, Mike, it's been noticeably a lot quieter today than it was during the Georgia primary just a few weeks ago. I actually had to drive around to a couple different polling places in Savannah to find people to talk to, but we did end up finding some voters here at the polling place at Congregation Mikveh Israel. Now, voters here told me that they know turnout is usually smaller during a runoff, but they say the stakes are just as big. The few people I found at the polls say they came out because they want their voices heard, especially in races that could shape state leadership and policy going forward. They also said runoff elections help voters narrow the field within their own party.
There is a lot of similarities between the candidates, but there's also key differences. So if you want your person representing your voice, now is the time to do it.
Well, if you haven't gotten out to vote yet, polls are open until 7. But if you are still in line at 7 o'clock, just be sure to stay in line and you'll still be able to vote. Reporting live in Savannah, Bronte Sorotsky, WTOC News.
Right now, we want to take a look at some of the biggest runoff races that voters are facing today. The runoff to be the Republican nominee for governor to go up against Democrat Keisha Lance Bottoms in November. Billionaire businessman Rick Jackson facing off with Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones after a very tight primary. Hours away from the votes being counted, and Burt Jones' campaign says they're feeling confident today. Our Cam McCann is live in Jackson, Georgia, where Jones is hosting his watch party. Cam, you were there during the primary. Is the feeling different for today in the runoff?
You know, not really. It's pretty similar, and that's because of one reason they feel confident: endorsements. Now, while Rick Jackson has hundreds of millions of dollars poured into those TV ads you see all over your screen, the current lieutenant governor has powerful backing. It started early. He's been championing his Donald Trump endorsement for months, and now another crucial one came out: current governor Brian Kemp. Out of all the governors, Kemp had the 7th highest approval rating at the end of 2025. That's according to morningconsult.com. So some pretty powerful pull there, not just from the president, but for the governor. And in a press conference from Monday, Kemp and Jones talked about their work together and used that time as reason to vote for Jones.
Learned a lot of good lessons from Governor Kemp. One good lesson is that he keeps a calm and steady hand on the toughest of situations.
Burt Jones and I have worked on going after criminal street gangs, creating the crime suppression unit, actually aiding the city of Atlanta to keep it from being burned down during civil unrest.
Both of those endorsements come at critical times. Now, I spoke with Jones a little less than a week ago. We talked about this race, specifically against Rick Jackson in the runoff. They have similar ideals, Jones and Jackson, but Jones believes he's the one who will follow through with what he says, and that's why you should vote for him. Now, this race is wide open. There are more than 100,000 votes to still be put in, where somebody voted for somebody other than Jackson and Jones, now set to vote for one of those two, hopefully. We'll keep you updated. For now, in Jackson, Cam McCann, WTOC News.
Jones's opponent is a self-proclaimed political outsider vying for the governor's mansion. Our Julianne Sheehan joins us live in Atlanta, where a Rick Jackson watch party is set to begin shortly. Julianne, what is Jackson facing in today's runoff?
Well, Mike, Rick Jackson came in second in last month's primary election. He fell 6 points short of his opponent, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. Now, Jackson received 32% of the vote, over 300,000 ballots cast in his favor. Jackson was the last candidate to join the race, launching his campaign in February. If elected, Jackson vows to cut income tax in half, eliminate DEI in classrooms, and crack down on immigration across the state. Just yesterday, Governor Kemp made a late endorsement of Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. President Donald Trump's stamp of approval also went to Jones. And while Jackson is missing those two key endorsements, he is backed by several conservative politicians, including U.S. Senator Ted Cruz. Now, Jackson has made several stops across the coastal empire over the course of his campaign. He's made the most out of any Republican running for that gubernatorial seat on the Republican ballot. He vows to make the coastal empire a priority as he works to secure the nomination tonight. In Atlanta, Julianne Sheehan, WTOC News.
Well, we're going to continue to check in with the runoff elections in just a moment, but first, want to talk about the weather on this voting Tuesday. As you can see, some of the darker skies. Is there some rain? Let's check in.
Some rain, Mike, and you can see that on our Farrah and Farrah First Alert live radar. It's been heavy at times, but broken. The heaviest of rain now along east of I-95 in Jasper, making its way into Beaufort County, so heads up Beaufort, and a little bit of shower activity in Bluffton on the north end of Hilton Head. Broken all the way down 95 until you hit Townsend into Brunswick, and that's moving off the coast. A little bit of a lull, so if you are in Savannah with some sprinkles right now, where you're going to get a break, so if you get off work at 5, it will most likely be a little dry, but this batch of rain making its way in from the west is moving towards the coast. We've been talking about these intermittent shower chances as we head through the rest of our Tuesday and Wednesday. Where it has rained, it's 75 Sylvania, but it's 84 in a non-rain cooled Hinesville. As we head through the rest of the evening, skies are cloudy and temperatures remain in the 80s. Thunderstorm chances are low, but they're not no. So the most part of this afternoon forecast is going to be showers. And I'll have your complete First Alert forecast plus tracking the tropics in minutes.
Well, Georgia's GOP U.S. Senate runoff is almost over. Mike Collins and Derek Dooley facing off, trying to win the Peach State's Republican votes for a chance to take on current Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff in November. Our Stephanie Atkinson joins us live from Jackson, Georgia, outside of Mike Collins' watch party. Stephanie, this Senate race is one being watched really all over the country.
Yeah, Mike, you're exactly right. Republicans are hoping to flip Georgia's Senate seat from blue to red this November. This race even getting President Donald Trump's attention. Mike Collins, current Georgia congressman, is focusing his campaign on America First policies and backing President Trump. Collins earned the president's endorsement just days ago. President Trump took to Truth Social to endorse the congressman and emphasize the importance of replacing current Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff. Trump's post read in part, quote, "Mike Collins is a true friend, fighter, and warrior who has been with us from the very beginning and has my complete and total endorsement to be your next U.S. Senator." Trump also addressed Collins' opponent, Derek Dooley, in his statement, saying he doesn't know Dooley, but unfortunately he has lived outside of Georgia for most of his life and didn't vote in 2020 or 2016. Now, polls are open until 7 p.m. Stay up to date with candidates and results on WTOC Online and on air. Live in Jackson, Stephanie Atkinson, WTOC News.
Well, Mike Collins' opponent, Derek Dooley, is also scheduled to be in Atlanta, and WTOC's Stephen Glover joins us live at the Battery outside of the Braves Stadium near Truist Park, where Dooley is expected to be tonight for his watch party. Stephen?
That's right, Mike. Dooley wants to end the day with his supporters outside the Braves Stadium at the Battery. You couldn't ask for a better watch party than this as voters goes out to the polls and cast that final ballot. It's the final quarter for former football coach and attorney Derek Dooley as he faces Congressman Mike Collins in the GOP Senate primary runoff race. In the May primary, Collins led with 40.50% of the vote, while Dooley had 30.19%, forcing Tuesday's rematch. Governor Brian Kemp has been campaigning alongside Dooley and endorsed him in this runoff. Dooley's campaign has been running on what he calls a, quote, Georgia First contract, a 5-point pledge that includes term limits, a ban on stock and crypto trading by members of Congress, and saying lawmakers should lose pay during government shutdowns. He also been casting himself as a political outsider, posting today that he's not in this race to get rich or chase headlines, but to take on what he calls career politicians. And tonight, his watch party here is set to start at 8 p.m. We'll have more of that coverage coming up very soon. Reporting to you live in Atlanta, Stephen Glover, WTOC News.
President Trump touts his administration's deal with Iran while meeting with G7 leaders. I'm Natalie Brand with what U.S. lawmakers are saying about the next, more complicated steps.
Welcome back. We're tracking a wreck in Chatham County. It's at 95 southbound at 204. And you can see traffic backed up into Pooler to Highway 80. Let's get some drive times for you. No problems coming out of South Carolina, Ridgeland to Port Wentworth. It's Port Wentworth to 204. Speeds reduced to about 23 miles per hour, 40 minutes. We'll take you there, and we'll try to get some more information, see when that's cleared, and see what's really going on out there besides just a wreck.
The military trial of Fort Stewart soldier Cornelius Radford is underway. Prosecutors say Radford intentionally targeted and shot fellow soldiers last year. Defense attorneys, however, argue Radford was in the middle of a severe mental health crisis and that his true intent was to take his own life. Cornelius Radford faces multiple charges, including attempted, premeditated, and unpremeditated murder. Defense attorneys argued the sergeant who took Radford into custody was later counseled and temporarily reassigned, actions they say could be viewed as pressure on a witness, an unlawful command influence. WTOC's Madeline Bierster spending the day inside the courtroom, and we'll have the very latest coming up on the news at 5. President Trump is touting the agreement reached with Iran during meetings with world leaders at the G7 summit. The deal ends the fighting and reopens the Strait of Hormuz while setting conditions for talks over Iran's nuclear program. Natalie Brand has the latest details from the White House.
Meeting with G7 leaders in France today, President Trump touted his memorandum of understanding with Iran.
We have our deal done with Iran, and it should be successful. It goes to a second stage, which I think will be actually easier.
The initial agreement would end hostilities and reopen the Strait of Hormuz, then begin more complex negotiations on the future of Iran's nuclear program over the next 60 days. Iran's foreign minister says that next phase will begin Friday.
They will not develop, purchase, buy, or any other thing. They're not going to acquire a nuclear weapon. If they do, all hell will rain down on them.
The tentative agreement has also bolstered optimism that the Strait of Hormuz will be reopened fully to commercial traffic. The average U.S. price of a gallon of gas is $4.04 today, down from the wartime peak last month of $4.56. But analysts caution that Iran is now fully aware of its ability to shut down the key waterway.
It's going to be tricky to ensure that Iran never is tempted to turn to that, to play that card again going forward. Now they know the impact it's had.
Lawmakers in Washington also caution there's still a long ways to go, with difficult issues to still resolve in this next negotiating window.
We won't know for 60, maybe 90 days whether we're going to be able to confect a real agreement with Iran.
60 days is tight, but again, an off-ramp to a war that was illegal and never should have started is something that we should feel good about.
Lawmakers have also said they want to see the eventual deal. Legislation passed in 2015 allows for Congress to review any agreement dealing with Iran's nuclear program. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Straight ahead, the city of Savannah is asking for your help when it comes to strengthening a corridor that reflects Savannah's history. We'll tell you how you can make your voice heard straight ahead.
And a live look at now from the campus of Georgia Southern, and we are seeing lots of dark clouds with some spotty sprinkles. Heavier rainfall still possible. First alert forecast after the break. Welcome back. Tracking the tropics. Potential tropical cyclone 1. This is the 2 o'clock advisory, the intermittent advisory. The 5 o'clock advisory will come out. We'll still probably have an area of low pressure, and it's most likely going to develop. It's a short window which that could develop into Arthur, a tropical storm, making landfall along the Texas-Louisiana line. 4 to 8 inches of rain expected from Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, even into Alabama, and some spots could get 12 inches of rain, even if it's not named storm. You can see that area of low pressure swirling along the Texas coastline. We have a stationary front draped pretty much over the deep south into Atlanta and Columbia. And this is the cold front that slid into our area yesterday that kept us mostly dry. north of the Altamaha and then slid back north. That's what's giving us showers. And the flow around the high pressure in the Atlantic, that's what's pumping in moisture into our neck of the woods. But as soon as this low starts to make a move, we'll see remnants of rainfall from that system. We've had heavy downpours in some spots, lighter rain still in others. Beaufort and heading into Colleton County now, that's moving to the north-northeast. And McIntosh County seeing some good rain at this time, with more on the way coming out of Vidalia down I-16. Cloudy skies right now in Savannah. Those rain chances the next hour about 40%. Then we bump it up to 60%. It will keep it on the high end side overnight. A little bit of a lull tomorrow morning with temperatures in the low 70s. And then we'll have intermittent rain throughout the day again. So 73 at 7, 77 at 9. And those temperatures will remain in the mid-80s for afternoon highs. Rincon 85, Statesboro, Bluffton, Richmond Hill 85, Jessup 87, and a decent chance of seeing some showers, isolated storms. The sunshine just indicates that we won't have an all-day rain, nor will we have a lot of accumulative rain on Wednesday, but we're going to see better rain chances, more meaningful rain chances come Thursday afternoon into Friday. Let's go hour by hour for you. A lull at 10, but overnight showers possible, some heavy downpours. A couple of spotty showers to start our Wednesday, mostly cloudy skies. A break mid-morning, early afternoon for some of us, and then another round heading in the afternoon. And if it gets just right in some locations, we could have a thunderstorm. We'll start Thursday dry with some sunshine, and then showers and storms will develop in the afternoon because it'll be a little bit warmer. We'll be 93 on Thursday. 88 Friday, mostly cloudy skies, 70% chance of rain, so we can get some good measurable rain. Overall, maybe 1 to 2 inches of rain possible Thursday evening into Friday. Then as we head into the weekend, I need to move Juneteenth to Friday, and Father's Day, of course, is on Sunday. Look at that. We've dropped the rain chances as we head into the weekend. So good news there for anybody celebrating Dad.
The city of Savannah is looking for public input on the future of the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard corridor. City leaders are inviting residents to a community meeting to talk about the future of MLK Boulevard corridor. Attendees will learn about proposed improvements, including beautification, safety, and cultural enhancements. That meeting is tomorrow from 6 to 7:30 p.m. It's going to be held at the Ralph Mark Gilbert Civil Rights Museum, and it is open to the public. Still to come, businesses in Atlanta prepared to serve thousands, but some are saying it's been a total bust so far, only making a few $100. You're going to hear from them up next. As you know, Atlanta is one of the host cities for the World Cup, and businesses ready to cash in on the hundreds of thousands of visitors expected say so far it's been kind of a bust. Sydney Stallworth spoke with business owners upset about a lack of customers right now.
Big and small are set up near the intersection of Ted Turner Drive and Nelson Street and on the Steel Bridge in downtown Atlanta, but things are much quieter than expected.
Yesterday was no sales. No sales.
And then today
only a few, like 200. $200.
On Atlanta's first day of hosting a FIFA World Cup match, most businesses here are packing up early and headed home.
On this side, the foot traffic hasn't been quite as much as we had hoped.
Other business owners say that's putting it lightly.
It's turning out to be a bust.
These businesses plan to profit thousands a day while Atlanta hosts the World Cup, and so far have only made a few $100.
Today, I think I've sold $500 worth of food, and that's just not what we do. If I cater an event, I'm easily going to do $10,000 in sales. That's just our baseline.
Leaving business owners deep in the hole.
Last 2 weeks till now, it's been almost $110,000 I'm in this game, and we had no sales. Yesterday's sales, 2 of my booth had 0 sales, and 2 of my booth has below $200.
We reached out to CVM Worldwide, one of the organizers in charge of vendor placement. In a statement to Atlanta News First, the executive director says that businesses are placed in 2 zones where foot traffic was anticipated, but has now been dispersed among other streets. The statement goes on to say in part, quote, "We have more solutions in place and we still have 7 matches to go, which will get progressively better. We're firmly committed to helping every business owner who's participating get the most from this experience.
Hey, send the traffic our way because we're looking to sell. We want the world to taste Atlanta, but it doesn't feel like we're going to get that opportunity.
Well, still ahead on the news at 4:30, our Georgia primary runoff election coverage continues. We'll have a look at another key race in Georgia's 1st congressional district. That's straight ahead.
Live from WTOC, the Southeast News Leader. The news at 4:30 starts now.
Thank you for joining us here on The News at 4:30. I'm Mike Seelam. Right now across Georgia, voters are heading out to the polls to help pick their party's candidates in the primary runoff elections. And some Chatham County voters may have a new polling place today. The Board of Elections says several precincts have been temporarily relocated. Voters who normally cast ballots at the sanctuary will vote today at St. Luke UMC on Whitfield Avenue. Those who vote at Islands Christian Church will instead head to the Islands High School Annex on Whitmarsh Island Road. And voters assigned to Fellowship of Love will cast their ballots at the WW Law Center on East Bolton Street. Also, voters who normally cast ballots at the Salvation Army Community Center will vote at First Presbyterian Church on Washington Avenue. Those assigned to Southside Baptist Church will now vote on Connection Church at Skidaway Road. And voters who use Southside Assembly of God will cast their ballots at Largo Tibet School on Tibet Avenue. And voters assigned to the Georgia Tech Savannah Campus Precinct will now vote at the Seventh-day Adventist Church on Godly Way. Georgia lawmakers are returning to the Gold Dome tomorrow for a special session. The most urgent item on their agenda is to address ballot QR codes, which will be outlawed on July 1st. Lawmakers could redraw voting districts affecting who represents you. They'll also consider potential changes to the way you pay taxes. Also at the state capitol, Georgia U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff is launching an inquiry into a Metro Atlanta post office facility where 4 employees have died since it opened in 2024. That includes a man who died earlier this month after collapsing during his shift. Authorities are still investigating how the postal worker died. As part of the inquiry, Senator Ossoff points to bad cell phone reception inside the facility, making it difficult to make or receive calls during an emergency. Senator Ossoff asked the Postmaster General to respond by June 26th. Right now, we do want to get a check of that first alert forecast by giving you a live look, checking out our St. Joseph's, Pooler Parkway Skycam. As you can see, traffic is moving out there here in the afternoon. Do want to check on the skies, see if anything is falling in terms of rain. Let's check in with meteorologist Jamie Erdl.
We're tracking light to moderate rainfall across the coastal empire and low country, and not a lot along I-95. So if quitting time is about a half an hour and you know a loved one coming home to you, they should make it home dry, but our rain chances are ramping up as more rain is streaming in from the west. Look at our temperatures across the coastal empire and low country. Rain cooled Sylvania 75, rain cooled Beaufort 77, 82 Jessup, 84 Hinesville and Richmond Hill, and not too much rain at the airport, still 84 and 84 Hilton Head. So we've had some heavy downpours move through northern portions of Effingham, Jasper, and now moving through Beaufort, Ladies Island, St. Helena. Lighter rain moving off the coast from McIntosh County and coastal Liberty, and more rain on the way. Look at this darker rain heading toward Vidalia and making its way into Candler County, with spotty showers dancing around Bullock and eventually making their way into Savannah and off the coast. Let's take a look at those hourly rain and temperature forecasts. So 40% right now for the next hour, and then we'll bump it up to 60% at 8. 11 o'clock, still tracking showers, maybe even some downpours, some heavy at times, an isolated storm risk. And as we just hit daybreak, we're going to drop those rain chances, but more spotty on and off showers for our Wednesday. First alert forecast coming up in minutes.
Court was in session in a unique way in Chatham County today for 2 men trying to leave homelessness. In front of a packed room, a judge decided to resolve their criminal cases. Our Aaron Dixon has more on the new program for people in the homeless community.
The idea to create this program was sparked nearly 2 years ago by a Chatham County Superior Court judge. Now the program has its first 2 graduates, 2 men whose low-level criminal charges have now been resolved. The cases were heard in front of a judge at the Emmaus House Resource Center in Savannah. In one of the cases, the man was not allowed to ride public transportation to get to his VA appointments or to the store due to his offense. The other man was on probation. In both cases, Chatham County Superior Court Judge Lisa Colbert heard testimony about how each man entered into necessary programs to help with what might have caused them to go into homelessness. She also heard about how they eventually completed the programs and about how they are continuing to take steps to try and leave homelessness. After it was all said and done, Judge Colbert ruled in their favor and gave them a second chance.
As judges, we typically don't see the end unless it's the end of a trial and we have to sentence someone, or the end of a guilty plea and we sentence someone. But this is gratifying for us as judges because we got to hear the progress that these two graduates have made.
The executive director for the Interagency Council on Homelessness, Stephanie Capel, says that hopefully more people in the homeless community here in Chatham County and Savannah take advantage of this new program. The program also has volunteer opportunities. Links to help can be found on our website. In Savannah, Aaron Dixon, WTOC News.
Jasper County is moving forward with a plan to better protect and preserve a major low-country property. Monday night, County Council approved $2 million in bonds to purchase a conservation easement for the Chelsea State Forest property. You may recall some of the property was sold for housing and retail under the Chelsea South Plan. The city of Ridgeland also annexed some of that property for housing. Supporters say adding the conservation easement will protect the remaining 2,600 acres from development. It also protects wildlife, sources of drinking water, and services for nearby military.
By preserving this land, we permanently protect the airspace and ensure our military can continue its missions without interference.
So not only do you have a permanently protected property, which brings certainty to the area, the neighborhood, the wildlife resources, the marsh, and the river system, but you have public access.
Jasper County is making a $2 million investment on the $34 million property. Both the military and Beaufort County are helping to fund this project. Funds will also come from state and federal dollars since the property will be open for public use. Coming up, President Donald Trump is praising a new agreement to end the fighting in Iran and open up the Strait of Hormuz, all while in France for a meeting with other world leaders. We'll have a live report up next. For the first time in more than a decade, Georgia voters will be sending someone new to Washington, D.C. to represent the first U.S. congressional district. Two Democrats vying for the chance to get there in November, Joyce Griggs and Amanda Hollowell, are competing to be on the ballot against Republican Jim Kingston. WTOC's Joe Hennessy joins us at a polling place in downtown Savannah with a breakdown of this primary runoff race.
Yeah, Mike, it started with 8 Democrats vying for that spot, but now we are left with just those two political strategists, Amanda Hollowell and military veteran Joyce Griggs. Now, Griggs says that she is for the people, speaking with people on their porches, at their churches, at their community centers, aiming to improve healthcare access across the district by lowering out-of-pocket costs, supporting health centers, and increasing the workforce. Affordability is a big thing for her by stopping price gouging, strengthening domestic supply chains, investing in energy security, and driving down prescription costs. Now, Hollowell says the constant when talking to voters is creating jobs, affordability, and an overall better way of life as well. But her campaign's 10-point affordability agenda focuses on lowering costs, creating opportunities, and again, helping families. She also runs an online justice organization called Color of Change, leading campaigns for voting rights, economic justice, and health care. We do plan to speak to both of these candidates later on this evening, so make sure you stay tuned for that as they both compete to see who will be on the list in November. Live in Savannah, Joe Hennessy, WTOC News.
Let's get an update on traffic, and since a half hour ago, things on I-95 are looking so much better despite the fact that we still have that wreck on 95 southbound at 204. It was about 40 minutes from Port Wentworth to 204. Now it's back to near normal, about 17 minutes. People jumped on 17 though, so traffic is a little sticky there. 516 to 204 will take you 20. 204 to Richmond Hill will take you 15.
World leaders gathering in France today for the G7 summit. WTOC senior national correspondent Peter Zampa is live with us now. And Peter, we want to talk more about what was on the Group of 7 agenda today.
Well, each leader brings their own pet priorities with them, if you will, but chief among them for just about everyone
is this peace deal with Iran and the United States that's set to be signed on Friday, or at least this tentative peace deal. It's had such a major effect on the global economy. This really was a war felt around the world. So they really want to see the Strait of Hormuz opened. And on that note, also conversations about how to avoid the Strait of Hormuz going forward, or at least rely on it less. Remember, 20% of the world oil supply was going through this tiny choke point that Iran now realizes it can use as leverage on just about anything moving forward. It was a real eye-opener for everyone, how quickly that spigot can be cut off. So now they're looking at investments, infrastructure that they can really put into place to try to at least diversify where this oil is coming from beyond that little tiny lane of shipping. Also, the war in Ukraine, top of mind once again. It seems like it's kind of been on the back burner since this war with Iran began, but now it's clear that these European leaders and the United States are ready to put this pressure campaign back on the Russians. President Trump even saying that oil sanctions that were lifted briefly because of what was going on with the Strait of Hormuz, those can once again be put back on the Russians with this Iran war a little bit more in the rear view. A number of other issues they discussed, really anything under the sun that these leaders came to today in France.
Well, did President Trump have anything more to say about what's in this peace deal or ahead of the signing that is scheduled for Friday?
Well, that's the big question, and it's not just coming from us, but what is in this peace deal? You're hearing this from even Republicans on Capitol Hill saying, hey, this sounds nice in theory, but what is it? What are we agreeing to here? And the president still keeping the cards close to the chest. He said he will read it out. He said word for word because he wants everyone to make sure they get it right. But we don't know when that's going to come. And so when he receives questions about this reported $300 billion payment to Iran to agree to this peace deal, he's dispelling this rumor. But again, when folks are reporting on sources and they're getting this information, the easiest way to tell us exactly what's true is just to release this peace deal, and we still do not have that information. Also, one hurdle to jump over before Friday, the Iranian foreign minister today saying that the Israelis need to withdraw completely from Lebanon, or else this war is not over. That's a pretty big deal because the Israelis, first of all, that's a non-starter for them. Second of all, they're not a party to this peace deal. They're not part of this Iran-U.S. agreement that's going to be signed. So will anyone back off that ledge before Friday? Unclear at this point.
We will have to wait and see. A lot of moving pieces here. Peter Zampa, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
A live look from our airport sky cam, 84 degrees, and we'll see a couple of spotty showers as we head through the rest of the late evening and overnight. First alert forecast after the break.
New at 4:30, those who have city water in Guyton are under a mandatory 24-hour boil water advisory. We're told the city has completed repairs on a water main, but residents will still need to boil their water for at least 1 minute before using it for things like cooking, drinking, or even brushing your teeth. Of course, we'll be sure to let you know when this advisory is lifted or extended.
Thanks, Mike. Taking a live look from our riverfront sky cam. Cloudy skies across the coastal empire and low country, mostly dry in Chatham, but some sprinkles now starting to just kind of spit out in West Chatham with lighter than moderate rain well to the west, Vidalia, Montgomery County. The heavier rain moving off of the coast of McIntosh County right now and Beaufort County as well after seeing some fairly decent rainfall totals in that neck of the woods. Look at this line that kind of moved through Scriven County. Let's do a query here near Newington, and that was a really good downpour, potentially about 1.5 inches of rain, and then more still south of the Altamaha. And let's get that rainfall in McIntosh County near Darien, maybe 1/10 of an inch of rain, but I think those totals are still adding up. And then still nobody getting any rain, let's say, in Jessup, but that is not the case for the rest of the evening. So this front is draped pretty much to the north of us with high pressure to the north and an area of low pressure. That's potential tropical cyclone 1, may become Arthur. Now, we will get some remnants of Arthur, and these rainfall totals are actually going up. This is a brand new map that just came in. It was just about 1 inch of rain for the early morning hours. Now this new model is depicting maybe widespread 2 inches of rain possible for the coastal empire and low country. As we head through the rest of the evening, it's a 40% chance of showers. I took the storminess out. I think the atmosphere is relatively stable, but a rumble of thunder can't be ruled out. Nothing severe. 50 to 60% as we head towards sunset, and then we'll keep some light to moderate rain through the overnight hours, tapering off prior to daybreak. And we wake up with some 60s out the door tomorrow. 68 Hampton to Vidalia, 71 Jessup, 72 Savannah, 73 Tybee Hilton Head. We'll have intermittent showers tomorrow as well with isolated storms. We did see some rumbles of thunder and hear some rumbles of thunder and some lightning earlier this morning. And we'll keep those rain chances on and off to about 60% throughout the day. 87 for the high in Jessup, Baxley, 85 Rincon, Statesboro, 85 Savannah, Hampton, Ridgeland, 87 Hilton Head. And we will track this rain as it continues to pump in from the west. We'll see some breaks. And then we'll also see some heavy downpours south of the Altamaha, 11, 10, midnight. Notice that just about daybreak, we're all wrapped up, but we'll keep a 20% chance in for that early morning commute. And then more rainfall possible through the afternoon and evening. We start Thursday dry, but then we'll have afternoon showers and storms. Friday looks a little wetter as well, and then drying out for the weekend just in time for Dad's Day.
Still to come, summer is almost here, and while it can bring fun, it can also bring some very serious risks to your home. We'll show you how you can avoid needing to make some of those costly insurance claims. In this Watching Your Wallet, as we head into summer, all that outdoor fun can come with a cost if your home isn't properly insured. Consumer investigator Rachel DePompa talks to an insurance expert about the most common home insurance claims and how you can avoid them.
Summer is here, which means you're going to be outside more, so it's time to make sure you are properly covered for hazards around your home. Kaz Wida is an insurance expert with NerdWallet. She says it's often things you never think of that can lead to claims. Things like grill fires, theft while you're on vacation, even injuries from swimming pools or trampolines. Even summer storm damage can lead to claims.
Well, I think one of the things we want to think about first and foremost is just reviewing your homeowner's insurance policy, making sure once a year you sort of take it out, no matter what season it is, summer or not. Understand what your coverage is, understand what your limits are, and really think about, have I made some changes to my property that I need to let my insurer know about?
Some home insurances have a built-in feature called Inflation Guard, and that helps your coverage limits keep pace with inflation. But Wida says it's also important to make sure your coverage limits have kept pace with rebuilding costs.
This is a really common problem. We sort of go ahead and get insurance when we buy a home, and then we don't really revisit that. And it is the homeowner's responsibility to make sure you have enough homeowner's insurance to rebuild if you were to experience a significant loss.
Wida says you also want to think about your personal liability and make sure it's enough to cover your net worth. You can always get on the phone with your insurance agent and update what you have for liability or dwelling coverage. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Still ahead on the News at 5, your complete Georgia primary runoff elections coverage continues. We're going to have live reports across the state as voters continue to make their decisions.